All right, what's going on, everybody? This be your boy, DJ Anonymous, with another episode of Sports Biz Music. And let's talk about this whole NCAA thing that's going on. So, if y'all have not been keeping up with the news, apparently, so maybe like a year ago, the NFL started this new rule where if a player from college is still eligible for a fifth year and he becomes undrafted and he don't make a team, he could go through a transfer process and join a team. And for me, honestly, I'm gonna be real with y'all. I was 50-50 about it at one point, but then I'm not gonna lie, I became 100% for it because Major League Baseball do it all the time. Basketball do it all the time. All the other leagues do it all the time. And for me, it's like, all right, you become undrafted. You didn't even get drafted at all. You come undrafted. You get signed by a team, and yeah, you play a couple pro league games, but most likely you're not even gonna make the team. You know, the odds of you making a team as a drafted free agent is like it's rare. It's still rare even in today's game. It's very rare. And a lot of people had a lot of uproar about it, but I'm like, my argument was, yeah, the NCAA, it's always been like a corrupt system for years. I heard so many stories from former teammates of mine from high school. Whether it was players, whether even coaching and stuff like that. Like it's a messed up corrupt system. But my thing is, for example, it's two different sports. Brandon Whedon, out of high school, I believe he signed with the New York Yankees. I think as a pitcher. And he was playing pros for what, about 4 or 5 years. Cause even when you sign with the AAA or double A or single A, once you sign in the minor leagues, you still considered a pro. But he had 4 years of eligibility, so he went to Oklahoma State and did his thing, and became one of the oldest players to get drafted, in NFL history. So for me, it's like it's always been loopholes. There's been loopholes for years, for decades, in college sports, right? So now we get in this NIL era where kids are being paid publicly, because we already know, even back in the day, like athletes used to get paid, under the table and stuff and whatnot. But even then, they wasn't getting paid like this. So we talking about football as like the main topic, but I also want to compare the other sports because at the end of the day, like we look at like basketball, you got players that went overseas, went to the G League, played 3-4 years, and still is eligible to go back to school because they got 3 years or 2 years of eligibility because they left their first or second year to try to go to the league. And my thing is, all around is bad because, you got these high schoolers that's coming up. You got these high school kids that's coming up, and then you also have these college students who are freshmen or sophomores or even juniors that trying to transfer to other schools because they're not getting playing time, or they just may not like the school no more, thinking that they like the school. Because people gotta understand, it's not about just playing the actual sports. Also, like majority of these kids, they realistically, people don't think, most people outside don't think that, but a lot of these student athletes are thinking about their future after, playing football, basketball, baseball, whatnot. Like some of these kids are, they going to school to be lawyers, doctors, engineers, studying sports management, going to school for nursing, biology, like, and maybe the school itself wasn't a perfect fit. Maybe they love the actual program, like the football program, but when they, get into academics, they probably like, man, I don't like the professors here, or they may not have enough, what's it called, enough, I got a brain fart right now, but they don't have enough access for something that I want to do, or I really want to do, because me as a college, as a former college student, undergrad, like undergrad's one of them years where you think you go to college, knowing what you want to major in, but after like the first year, year and a half, or even your sophomore year, you change your major like 3 or 4 times until you find something that you really want to do and see yourself doing in a career. So, it's a lot of factors. And then some kids, they could be from Miami going to Oregon and they get homesick. So all that is realistic factors. So the reason why I want to talk about this is because it's been the main topic. So yesterday, um, all the outlets, all the sports outlets, major news outlets, they said that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to ban this thing where kids could come back in football. Well, not just football, but they said football, NBA, and WNBA. And my thing was, it's a couple things I want to talk about. One, why is just those three sports? Because, baseball do it, hockey do it. Soccer do it, but soccer is kind of soccer. Well, forget it. Soccer do it too, because you go to the pros too in soccer, and you can play college. Like pretty much all the sports, golf, tennis, they are collegiate sports. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is, why aim for them three Pacific sports: women's, men's basketball, and football. I already know why. I'm not gonna get into that, but my main thing is, if you gonna do that, be consistent. Say all sports, because now we live in the era where you have pro lacrosse, you have pro softball, pro women's baseball, you have golf, you have all these pro sports now that wasn't considered pro sports back in the day, like lacrosse at one point way back in the day wasn't considered a pro sport until maybe 20 or 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, if you're gonna do it for three sports, do it for all sports. I understand the real reason, like the other real reason about it, because it happens in them three sports a lot. Especially basketball. It just started. People got to realize it really just started with football this year. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is, the other reason why they did is because if you a college football head, or you was just a college, if you was just a person of college sports in general, the Big Ten and the SEC, they've been trying to get away from the NCAA for years. And for me, I kind of have like a mix of emotions about it, because for one, let's say, and I haven't really elaborated on this topic either, because this topic been going on for years. Let's say the Big Ten and the SEC go their separate ways and start their own league. It'll be what, like I guess like almost maybe an almost 30 team league, because they can still invite other schools to get into their league. My thing is, they got the money. Yes, they have the money, because at the end of the day, if you know how college sports is built, how college athletics is built. Majority of these conferences, they already have their own money. They have their money, then they split it with the schools. Let's say one school, couple schools, like I'm just using a random conference like the the MAC. If you got about 4 schools that went to the bowl game and they win, they have to share that revenue with all the schools, and then them schools have to share it with everything that's going on in the school. Like I believe it's the academia side, and then it's also the college, the athletics, the athletic department. So imagine you football, you also gotta spread that money out with basketball, football, hockey, baseball, all the way down to flag football, something like that, or bowling. That's how it works in college. I learned that too when I was interning at FIU. It's a lot of stuff that it's literally like politics, in college sports. But yeah, so like for me, it's like y'all gonna have the money, but it's gonna get to a point where it's gonna start a civil war within every college, like, because for example, like with this whole new rule that's coming up, Big Ten started it first, then SEC followed suit. In my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. Not a lot of these conferences gonna follow suit. Like, who's a prime example of that? The Pac-12. Remember a year, like for 2-3 years, people been laughing at the Pac-12. When they lost everybody, except for Oregon State and who was it? Oregon State and who stayed? It was Oregon State and Washington State. And people was talking about Tupac, and all this stuff. And then they started getting some of the schools from the Mountain West and everything, right? In my opinion, if a football player, a basketball player, or or even a women's basketball player, they want to decide to go back to school for one more year if they have the eligibility, because people got to realize is if they have that eligibility, because of COVID really started that 5th year option. So if you got red-shirted twice because of injury, or if you got, it's a plethora of things that have to happen for you to get that 5th year eligibility. Because back in the day, a 5th year eligibility was very hard to get. Even as a redshirt, player. Now you got players that get 6-7 years, of eligibility because of injuries, or because of just certain things that happen to them. So a conference like the Pac-12 gonna look at other conferences like, hey, I have a potential, star that went undrafted, but we know he's a star. He could go to a Boise State, he could go to Oregon State or Washington State, ball out, or he or she, like. All these conferences at the end of the day, they think about money, they think about revenue, because that's how, they keep the lights on. It's college, it's everything. It's not even just college, it's everywhere, schools in general. Like, the main thing that keeps schools going is athletics. I'm not saying that's for all schools, but majority of schools is athletics. Whether if you in the Midwest, you could be a hockey school. People don't realize that in certain states like Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Idaho, like hockey is like they breadwinner. Same thing in certain places in the East Coast and in the West Coast, like basketball is they breadwinner. Same thing in the South, like it ain't just football. It could be baseball. It could be lacrosse. And rarely like Oregon, Stanford's and stuff like that, LSU's, like the Olympic sports, play a big role in them schools too. So, and then you have all these people that want their kids to go to these schools for academia, but also for athletics, because it's not just about, oh, my kid gonna play football, this and that. They kid maybe want to aspire to be a coach one day, or aspired to be analytic person, or sports medicine or something like that, and they really believe in that department, and they see like the potential for their kids to grow into the sports industry and whatever they want to do as a non-athlete, that counts too. It's a lot of things people don't understand about college athletics, man. Like for me, I never played college ball, but I've been around it so much. I've interned and stuff like that. I studied sports management because that's one of the things we had to learn. We had to learn about the different laws and for the NCAA and the NJCAA, like for the junior colleges and stuff, the NAIA, D1, D2, D3, all that stuff. We had to learn all that stuff because just in case we work one day, for these, they corporations, bro. They're they non, what they call it, non-profit, but they still, they organizations. You know what I'm saying? So we had to learn all them stuff. We had to learn all the rules. We had to learn about, the budget cuts and everything, how they budget and everything, how they, spread the money around. Because a lot of people don't know that. Like, for example, the ACC, they got a rule where, like, let's say, like Miami, for example, when they went on their bowl game run, they didn't have to share that share because in the ACC, I don't know if it's all the schools or if it's the Magnificent Seven. I'm trying to remember because the Magnificent Seven is Florida State, Miami. I think North Carolina's in there, Virginia Tech, Virginia, and Clemson. And there's somebody else. I think it's NC State. I think no, Duke, because you gotta think about basketball and all that too. But I don't know if it's the Magnificent Seven or if it's all the schools. But if they go, I'm just speaking football. I don't know how college basketball work and all that, but for college football, you go to the bowl game or you go to the playoffs. You play all these different bowl games. You don't have to share that money with all the schools. It goes directly to your school, and you share that within your school with the academia, with the other the different sports that's going on in the school. That's why you notice that like there's a lot of schools. It's not just about donors, because that's one of the main things too. It's a lot of donors that play a big thing, like play a very very impactful thing to these schools. But it's also like the conferences and what they got going on, their rules and stuff like that. But my thing is that I don't want to be here too long, but my thing was that Big Ten, the SEC doing this, it's a good thing because it's not gonna, the NIL thing, the transfer portal was always it's a Wild Wild West for real. Like me knowing like how that works and seeing the system is really the Wild Wild West. So by doing this, they gonna make it less than a Wild Wild West, and plus you're gonna have all these other factors where you got to look out for the high school kids. And then I was talking about the transfers within the bigger schools, but you also got junior colleges. You got these kids coming from junior colleges that's technically still considered recruits, because they coming from a different type of, they technically not coming from NCAA. They are, but it's junior college. It's like a whole different thing, But then on the other side, it's like y'all hypocrites, because it's like, at the end of the day, like maybe the kid don't have to go to a SEC or a Big Ten school. He could go to a Mountain West or a MAC or a Sun Belt, because people don't realize, man, like this is not 10, 15, 20 years ago where, San Diego State playing a Kent State was never really broadcast on TV, or you had to order that TV. Man, we in the era of streaming. So you got all these streaming services is trying to get these contracts, because that's another thing that's coming soon too. That's where that money coming from too. you're gonna start seeing the Apple TVs get into it, the Amazon Prime's get into it, even though I think they're already into it because the Mountain West is on Prime Video. If you know, you know. I love college football. I love college sports. So you want to start seeing, we seeing it in the pros. So of course, if it happens in the pros, it's gonna happen in college. You're gonna start seeing Netflix saying like, you know, let's have a couple Big Ten and SEC games throughout the year. Amazon Prime gonna do the same thing. Apple TV gonna do the same thing. Peacock already do it because it's NBC, but and Peacock already got exclusive games that don't show on NBC. You have to go on Peacock and watch them games. Tubi, Tubi's starting to show a couple games and stuff like that. So sorry. So it's just like any of these kids could be exposed. Matter of fact, you go to the FCS, like the FAMUs, the Hamptons, the South Carolinas, like the HBCUs alone are getting showed on TV every week, man. Whether it's on ESPNU or the Grill Network or ESPN2. Like, I remember when I was in middle school and high school, the only time they showed HBCUs was like, it was like the Orange Blossom Classic, or it was like Bethune versus FAMU, or Alabama State A&M, or Tuskegee, Alabama State, or Southern or Grambling. That was the only time that like you will see, like you only see like the rivalries on national TV. Now you can see smaller HBCUs that's smaller than like a Savannah State or Tuskegee State, something like because people don't realize there's over 100 different HBCUs. So like not all HBCUs in the FCS level. There's some that's in D2, D3. So like you can see them on TV, you can see them on your phone. So my thing is, it's good that they kind of policing everything, but at the same time, it's like it's not gonna be easy. Just because the Big Ten, the SEC, doing their thing for that, not all these conferences are gonna follow suit. And also too, even if Big Ten and SEC, and this is my opinion, y'all could drop y'all opinions on the comments when I drop this. I still feel like because the world is changing. All these athletes coming from everywhere. You got these college athletes coming from goddamn Canada, goddamn international, even from certain states from here that like you'll never think like Idaho and Montana and stuff like that are going to these different schools in the South and the East Coast and the California and stuff like that. So like you can have like a Jimmy from Montana that could be a 4-star, and he could end up going to a Clemson, or he could end up going to a Texas Tech or Colorado or something like that, And they don't realize that, the Big Ten and SEC don't realize is it could get to a point if they break off, the NCAA could combine the FBS, whoever's left, and the FCS together. It's gonna be basically like college basketball, and they can have extended playoffs and stuff like that. They can add more bowl games. Like at the end of the day, it's corrupt, it's messed up. I dig deep more into that, in another video. But there's money everywhere, man. And once this NIL thing came up, and I was one of the people that's behind it because I feel I feel like at the end of the day, sorry, y'all. I feel like at the end of the day, these college athletes need to get paid because they have no life. Like I've been around it. I know cousins, I know, friends. When I interned at FIU, and this is FIU, this is not University of Miami or Florida, or Florida State. It's like compared to their programs, it's a smaller program. Big, like if you're talking about population-wise, it's probably as big as UF. but it's got way more people than UM and Florida State. But if you're talking about the actual program, it's lesser than all of them. But these kids they have like 4 or 5 different meetings every day. They still gotta practice. They still gotta go to study hall, and they barely got a regular life during the season. So for me, I was always with like, student athletes getting paid, man, because they don't really have no life. But I just want to talk about that. If y'all have your own opinions about it, agree or disagree, just drop it in the comments. I told y'all I'm gonna be consistent. Especially college football coming back this week, tomorrow, because it's a lot of like FCS schools starting tomorrow, and D3 schools starting tomorrow. So I'm gonna drop a video tomorrow, start my predictions for some of those games, and then the week 0 games, and then like a little preview of the whole college football season and stuff like that. NFL coming back in a couple weeks, and I'm not really gonna touch preseason like that. I may have an updates, for me as a Dolphin fan and stuff like that, or the different trades that's been going on. I also play fantasy football and stuff like that too. I do all that stuff, so we're gonna talk about that stuff too. But I really wanted to talk about this because I'm passionate about college football. I love college football. I mean, I was that kid that, on Saturdays I watch College Game Day from 9 a.m., watch College Game Day final, around midnight. And if y'all know, RP to Coach Brandon, Hawaii was that team, and we all used to stay up past 12 a.m., sometimes past even 1 a.m., because, Hawaii is like 6 hours back, and we used to watch them. We used to stay up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I love college football, man. Yeah, y'all let me know what's going on, how y'all feel. And then any other topics y'all want me to talk about, the sports biz music, we talk about everything, man. RP to Dolly. She was a legend. She was one of them legends, man. She was like a Michael Jackson. She was like a, Aretha Franklin. She was one of them ones, like, even if you didn't, listen to country music, she was one of them ones that, like, you'll hear her everywhere. I'm from Miami, so, a lot of, even though I said this in another episode and stuff like that, I'm not really going to talk about it right now, but, like, Miami's still the South, so, like, but with Miami, we listen to everything, and country music is one of the genres that we listen to down here. So, she's a legend. Also, RIP to EB the Iceman. As I know, I DJ'd when I was younger, and EB the Iceman was one of the first artists that really looked out for me. Like, he didn't have to, because at that time, like, he had that song Clap Them Thighs, and like, he was really, like, I felt like at that time I thought he was gonna really blow up, like, really. But I had talked about a topic about that a couple of videos ago, about like how the industry tried Miami, how they tried the whole South Florida and stuff. But EB the Iceman was one of them dudes. Rest in peace to him. We lost a lot of greats this year. But yeah, man. I just wanted to talk about that. Follow me on TikTok, YouTube, DJ Anonymous DRG. Follow me on Instagram, DJ Anonymous DRG 305. Follow the Sports Biz Music podcast Instagram. It's gonna be Sports Biz Music. I don't think I'm gonna even call it a podcast no more. It's gonna be like a show. But yeah, man, this be your boy DJ Anonymous, and I'm out. Peace.